As this year's television season comes to a close, there is a drama that continues to generate buzz among audiences and critics alike. The West Wing is the show. It concludes its sophomore season tomorrow night on NBC. Last fall, it won Emmy Awards for Best Drama, Writing, Directing, and Supporting Actor and Actress. Those 9 wins were the most Emmys won by a single series. We're pleased tonight to have the creative team of The West Wing, the creator Aaron Sorkin, and 5 members of the cast. They are Martin Sheen, who portrays the President of the United States, Jed Bartlet; John Spencer, who plays the White House Chief of Staff, Leo McGarry; Allison Janney is C.J. Craig, the press secretary; Richard Schiff portrays Communications Director Toby Ziegler; and Bradley Whitford is Josh Lyman, the Deputy Chief of Staff. I'm pleased to have all of them here on the eve of the season finale. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let me start with something Aaron and I talked about when he came here before. What is it you think that makes this series? People say it is, for example, the fact that you give a sense of certain nobility to politics. What is it you think?
Yeah, I think that there's some of that. I think that there's some wish fulfillment, but more and more, I don't think that it's a concept or an idea that that makes something successful. I really do believe it's execution. I think that this show is done well. I think that this is really the best cast of actors that's been on television in a long time. We take the work very, very seriously. We really swing for the fences every episode, and there are obviously there are a couple of hundred people involved in putting on the West Wing every week, and we really have very skilled people in all the positions.
Swinging for the fences means what in your world?
We never say. We've now done 44 episodes of it. We finished our 2nd season. We've never said it's just television. We can phone it in.
We want all those Emmys so we can take a breather.
Exactly right. In fact, just the opposite. There's really a feeling of we've won all these Emmys. Well, now we have to be as good as everybody just said we were. We have to be better. We all, we take, for us, every Wednesday night is really like its own Broadway opening. We take it very seriously.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. When you think about the amount of writing you have to do for this, I mean, you did Few Good Men and you've written other things. This is 10 times as much writing you've ever done for anything else.
Yeah, it's a pretty ferocious pace. It's 22 hours of television. It's and these are also very wordy scripts. There's a lot of language. We're not blowing up buildings. And the words, by the way, aren't always in English. They're sometimes in Latin and sometimes in French.
Please don't bring up the French.
Not enough French?
Well, usually I send French to Richard. The shows are all done with language. So it's a very ferocious pace.
Does that make it an actor's program then, if the show is done with language?
I think first and foremost it's the writing, but then it's a great vehicle for actors, because it's like I mean, sometimes we get to speak pages of dialogue, which you never do in film or television. It's like stage work that way.
Here's the thing about Aaron's writing, which is it's not just incredibly beautifully metered and poetic and substantive, but it correlates with things so that you can connect it to things that are emotional. So very often, even though you have this volume of things to say, the moments reside in between the words, which is only a great writer can pull off.
Tell me what that means, the moments that reside in between the words.
The tells for Toby, for instance, I mean, that is just the way I do it, but the tells, the kind of reveals, the things that kind of reveal moments he might not want to reveal happen in between the language. The language is kind of a cover in a lot of ways.
I'm sorry, this is absolutely none of my business. Your brother is entitled to a proper funeral with mourners, and I think he deserves an honor guard. And you don't know me, but I'm an influential person. I'm a very powerful person, and I would like to arrange it.
It's an interesting challenge too, because there is so much. It's such a technical demand. There is a rhythm you feel, kind of pushing you, and a director pushing you to maintain that rhythm. And it's with such a technical thing to execute, you have to make sure that your blood is flowing underneath it as an actor, that you're not focused on execution, but that you're focused on the moment. So I find it a very challenging and interesting acting experience.
Martin, is it different from other things you've done? Why are you?
Considerably. Yeah.
Well, what way?
Well, I never would have cast myself in this. Never.
Why not?
I wanted to play John's part.
No,
I'm better at it. Chief of staff.
You didn't think of yourself as...
He's the president. It's like when they told Sam Goldwyn or Jack Warner that Ronald Reagan was going to run for president. He said, no, Ronald Reagan, vice president. James Cagney, president. Now, you're talking about the show. We were doing Tommy Salmi and I were doing a show a couple of months ago where we talked to all the affiliates across the country, about 5 or 10 minutes with each. I didn't even realize I was taller than you.
You're not.
Sir.
You see what I have to put up with.
All right.
And
Mr. Sheen.
And Tommy was talking about, people were asking, what is this? Why is this show so successful? Is there an ingredient? And I had all different things, like we're all saying all the time. And Tommy said, it's a family show. It's about a family. Yeah. Ever since the beginning, I've always wanted to be in a parade. I want to break the line. I'm always saying to Aaron, man, look at that crowd. Put me in that crowd, man. Just give me one little camera and just take me over there and watch this, man, for days. Or give me a big hall. I want to make a big speech. Put me at the convention. We had the convention. Remember, we were going to do it in Los Angeles. I'm always wanting the crowds and the limo and all that stuff. And said, no. It's not about going out there. It's about going in here. And that's the difference. Because we will take the White House where no one will ever go. And that's the only thing they'll never see. And that's the inner workings of the individuals that work there. And their heart. That's the basic word, too, is the heart, which was reflective of this guy.
Let me come to, do you think...
I wasn't finished yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You can go on, because I'm not taller than you.
You have something else you'd like to add to that?
Not anymore.
No, all right. Give me some sense of what you think the value judgment is there in this White House.
I'm not sure what you mean, but well, maybe I am sure what you mean. Even if I'm not, I'll just make it up. I think that at the outset, after the first couple of episodes last year, that a lot of people looked at the show and said, "Gee, this is a liberal show somehow." And I think that the more they watched, the more they saw that, first of all, that the characters are people capable of arguing all sides of an argument. But even more than that, even people who disagreed with a position that CJ was taking or something that Toby was talking about, realized that these were people who wanted to do right, who wanted to do the right thing, who were motivated.
But here's my question. I'm interrupting you.
Okay.
Is that your take on the way the White House is and not perceived as such, or is that simply the way you would wish it to be?
Well, I don't know how the White House is.
You got Dee Dee Myers, you got Pat.
Yes, I've got
Goodell, all these people.
The few people who I do know, I'm nuts about, but. I think that by and large in American culture that the president and people who work in government, that our leaders have either been portrayed as Machiavellian or dolts.
Yeah.
And a combination of, as you say, a little contact that I've had with these people, and a romantic vision of the way it might be. Is what really makes me write it like this.
Tell me the most interesting thing about each of your characters, Martin. I mean, what is it you like about this character? What is it that makes him interesting to you?
His heart.
Yeah.
That he has heart. I mean, all the other stuff is, I think everybody is a reflection of who he is and where he comes from and where he wants to go, but it's his heart. He takes the rap along the journey. He knows in order to get from here to there, it's going to cost him something personally, and he takes it personal. If you take it impersonally, then that's what you get back. But it cost him something, and he knows it, and he hesitates and he's pushed and shoved by this guy primarily, but he's the up front guy for all the rest of them. This guy's the conscience, and I don't know what she's just the fashion expert.
No.
What do you do? What is your job?
I clean your
Oh, you
golf
do the,
clubs.
that's right.
Right.
But you know what I'm saying? Is that what it cost him personally? Yeah, and I think that that's...
For me, I'm intrigued by Leo's desire to serve the country, serve his friend. The laying on from my mind onto his, he could do great things. I can push this man to do great things. It's a devotion that I would love to have in life. I think the intriguing thing about this hour drama is I think it's about people. I think the backdrop is politics.
I do too.
I think the thing that keeps people tuning in is they love who CJ is. They love who Toby or Brad or the president. And we don't get to see in real life the politicians behind closed doors.
I think that's a mistake
intriguing.
On the part of politicians.
So do I. You always see the public face.
Yeah. I mean,
we show them the private face.
Yeah. And what are you trying to do, other than simply entertain people and keep them there for the hour in the record numbers?
It really is simply what I'm trying to do. If they tune in at 9 o'clock, by 10 o'clock, we want them to be happy that they did. I think, approach this believing that the people who watch television shows are at least as smart as the people who make television shows, and that there's nobody out there is dumber than we are, and it doesn't need to be fed to them that way. I think that people like to run and catch up to something that they're watching on screen and feel excited about it. And that's what we're trying to do.
You know, one thing I feel very strongly is one thing that Aaron does, and Aaron had the luxury of being able to do this at the moment he went into television, coming from features with a certain amount of heft and not needing to do television but wanting to, is Hollywood is full of really bright people who are writing something they think they can sell. And that's like me telling you a joke that I personally don't think is funny. It's a cynical exercise. And what you have with Aaron and what you have with David Chase is, on The Sopranos, is you have really bright, interesting writers who are clearly trying to amuse themselves.
Well, yes.
Really? And it's a key difference between the commerce and between the sort of dull television and
are
television
you saying that they're trying to satisfy themselves beyond amuse?
They're interest
in other words,
themselves, engage themselves.
You know, if I I'm sorry, Richard. If I write,
but after all,
if I write what I like and what I think my friends will like, and what I think, to an extent, what I think my family will like. In other words, because if it's just writing what I like, then I'm very scared. But if I write something, frankly, these days it's these people. If I write something that I like and I think, Richard would like this too, and Allison would like this too, then I just cross my fingers and hope that enough other people like it that I can earn a living doing it.
I would assume it's easier for you now for this reason. They have given shape, personality, and a lot of other qualities to characters that in the beginning were limited because you just began, right?
Yeah,
you know where she's going because she has given depth and strength and
it's much easier knowing that I'm writing for Allison playing CJ. And you want to be careful when you're doing that, though, not to think you know what it is that Allison Janney can do, that you've explored her entire range of acting. You constantly want to be
but are you thinking about Allison Janney, or are you thinking about CJ when you write that character?
Well,
the big lady.
Yeah, I mean that's a good question.
Which one?
That was a remark. Mine was a question.
I mean, his remark was. We'll talk about that in after. There's a big story behind that, but there's a big story behind the big lady.
Will you tell us that story?
Martin is infamous for. I'm going to break the news right now.
Let's hear it. Right
Martin, I'm telling you, Martin. I adore Martin, but Martin has a problem with names.
Yeah.
And Martin, for the longest time, in fact, I don't. Sometimes he just doesn't quite remember my name.
So he calls you the big lady?
So he calls me either CJ on a good day,
or that's the day he remembers,
or the big lady. And it's pretty fun. So yeah, so he does that a lot.
Is there something kicking in over there or not?
Now Bartlet.
Bartlet.
This is the amazing thing. I wanted to answer that question for you. When you're writing for Allison, for CJ, you're writing for CJ, but your CJ is Allison now, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And the truth is, when you're actually in it, when you're writing it, you tend to kind of let go of such a strict thought process. Something else has taken over. That machinery is in there already, and you're writing. You're
but
really
that's who you're picturing.
Oh, there's no question that's who I'm picturing. It's really who I'm hearing. It's
exactly.
sort of thing.
I mean, you gave me that wonderful tooth thing because you thought it would be fun to see me have to go.
There are particular sort of specialty skills that certain actors have.
Bottom line of the resume.
Exactly right. And Allison, among many, many other things, is truly a world-class comedian, and we will go for
fishing waders
for the joke really as often as we can. So I gave Allison emergency root canal, and she had to spend an episode sort of with a wad of cotton. Brad, as he said, was in fishing waders. Martin had to do a scene where he had accidentally taken too many muscle relaxers and had to get through a scene in the Oval Office.
Mr. President, did you by any chance take your back pills?
Well, I don't mind telling you, CJ, I was in a little pain there.
Which did you take, sir, the Vicodin or the Percocet?
I wasn't supposed to take them both.
Okay, Mr. President, we're going to have someone take you back to bed.
No. Sit. One of you's got a problem. I'm here to help.
Everybody has had to trip over something in the show and fall down once or twice. It's sort of a requirement.
And Bartlett, like Martin now, has a hard time with names.
Remembering names,
Is that right?
Yes, he does.
He also is this the way he handles MS? Is that what you would like for him to do? Is that what your character would do?
When I first saw that in the script, I thought it was my initials. I didn't have a clue what was coming down.
But now that you know.
I think it's great.
It's an interesting question to pose for presidential leadership.
It is, yes.
Why is that? Tell me what's fascinating, because this brings you to episode finale.
Well, the issues at stake. First of all, dealing with a public leader who is less than perfect, actually emotionally and physically. Also with Leo, the alcoholism, but that's a different issue. But also, the passion that Aaron wrote that with. I remember when we first all read that script, but now kind of the reverberation of that a season later, what that means. I mean, what that means to Mrs. Dr. Bartlett, who,
the wife.
It wasn't done lightly. I don't want to speak for Aaron, but I mean, we knew that we were going to pay for this. I mean, there was no way. You're not going to go away with this.
We're taking a chance.
Well, what do you mean we knew we'd pay for this? Meaning that
if the only people in the staff that knew was Leo, you knew.
Oh, you knew.
You knew it was going to unravel eventually.
You're going to have to deal with it.
We were going to have
to. And your character, you can't just say, "Oh, by the way, the president has MS and he hasn't told anybody." And in the next episode, it's just you forgot.
Did you know this was the final episode?
There's really
this
very
is where you
little
were going.
that
in the same way, in A Few Good Men, you knew you were going to end up in the courtroom.
Yeah, the thing is, writing A Few Good Men, the play and then the movie, I got to write it many, many, many times, so that by the time I got to the end, I was able to say, okay, this is what's of value to me. This is what I want to do. Now I can go back to the beginning and fix it. With series television and so many stories that are serialized, it's really like you're walking in pitch black with a flashlight. You can only see as far ahead as the light will get you. You don't know what's going to be up there. When I did the MS episode, no, I didn't. As Martin said, obviously we were going to pay for it. We were going to have to talk about this.
But
I didn't say
that when you put it in there, or you would not have put it in there.
I knew it, but I didn't know what I was going to do, and really I was doing it simply. This is going to sound ridiculous, but two things happened at once. I wanted to. I thought it would be because I like to show things about the president that we don't get to see on TV. I wanted to see him sick in bed, having to watch afternoon television, the way the rest of us do. A man who, in his life, has never seen a soap opera, or you know, or one of those panel. Yeah, the character has never seen a soap opera or one of those panel shows. And at the same time, I'd been talking to Stockard Channing about coming onto the show and playing the First Lady. And in the middle of a lunch with Stockard, I don't know what it was she was saying, but I had the idea, gee, what if she's a medical doctor? It might be something interesting. And all of a sudden, he had MS. And she was the one who knew. And really, the story just sort of caught fire like that. Like I said, I knew eventually we're going to have to address mostly the deception. But didn't know what I was going to do. Didn't know how that tomorrow night.
Should a man run for re-election who's deceived the public about his public health?
I don't really think it's deception. He's been less than honest about a certain. Well, I mean, he's been less than. I'm getting so shut. He's been less honest about a specific thing that has not incapacitated him.
This is why presidents don't come on and talk casually.
Yes, exactly. Is this going to be the soundbite? This is the soundbite.
Sorry, I never. Go ahead. Finish your point,
This is the soundbite, see? No, that I think that this is how he kept it to himself. But the thing that I think is revealed, if you don't mind my saying so, tonight, or tomorrow night,
No, we want you to reveal.
Well, he never dreamed he would win. When he started,
it was not an issue for him.
No, it wasn't an issue. When he started in the primaries, he was a little voice in a big arena. They were beating the hell out of him. He didn't have a prayer. And he just started talking.
It's a pretty major oversight, however, as Toby responded to in that episode.
Is that what Toby said?
What was Toby's take on it? It was a pretty major oversight.
The idea that you could win.
Yeah. No, the idea that you could hold on to this deception.
Oh, deception,
I think it became a deception by oversight, if that's
I agree with that. Oversight.
It is. I need to jump in and say that what we're talking about right now, you guys haven't seen the final cut of tomorrow night's episode.
They know. They did the script.
Has been lifted out because of time, so that, and I will do it again in a different way at the beginning of next season.
Why are you telling us this on TV?
Because it was the only thing that was going to stop everyone.
Speaking,
we don't well to editing. By the way.
All right. At least we think this will be in tomorrow night's show. Wednesday night's finale of The West Wing will include this scene, we hope. Roll tape.
You can't conceive, nor can I, the appalling strangeness of the mercy of God, says Graham Greene. I don't know whose ass he was kissing there, because I think you're just vindictive. What was Josh Lyman? A warning shot? That was my son.
It's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah.
Like, it goes on. There's more.
So my song is cut.
It goes on.
We like a president that also we like a president quotes Graham Greene, don't we?
Yeah, I think we do. Quotes Graham Greene. He speaks Latin. He's a Nobel Prize-winning economist.
Right.
One of the best things you ever wrote was a line where it said, "When did it become a virtue for a president to be stupid?" You know, it's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Despite
I think that there is a. We have gotten into the habit lately, I think, with presidents, with any number of leaders, or they're plain spoken, they're just plain folk, and it seems to be other words for happy to be stupid.
Let me ask each of this: with all the honors, with all the Emmys, with all the public praise, with all the ratings success, what would you change, if anything, about this? Your character, the way it works?
You're looking at me.
Yeah.
As if I have a complaint.
Well, I had to start somewhere.
Well, what I would change, I don't know if I'd change. I'm very happy with the way the characters evolved.
And,
I'd change a lot of the editing. I'd go back and change a lot of the editing. I'd change how much time we have to unearth and discover certain moments, But given the nature of the beast, I think we do pretty well, and I don't think I'd change a whole lot except, take home pay.
Scheduling is what I would change.
Scheduling? Meaning that the sheer brutality of how many? You come in on Monday morning
Well, it's 6 a.m. usually on Monday morning.
Yeah.
And
first time you've seen the script?
No. We've had it. And we can start. But it's just the hours progressively as the week goes on. Sometimes we'll work till 4 in the morning on Saturday. So the hours are incredibly long, and sometimes you want to just have a more regular schedule so that you can also have your life outside of work.
If we could make this a sitcom, we'd have much better hours. We're going to work on that.
No, that's another series.
It's the scheduling. It's our drama is like nothing else. I mean, the thing that keeps me going sometimes is somebody that works for me once mentioned to me as I was complaining one night after working a 15-hour day and having to learn speeches for the next day. And I can't do Aaron's words unless I know them forward and backward. I can't inhabit them. I can't. And his writing's too good to give less than that, too. It really is. And someone mentioned to me, I was complaining, working with a script reader, and they said, just think about, he has to write it every week. And it kind of put it a little bit in perspective.
You got to speak it, but he had to create
for me. This would be my swan song for our drama, I think, in my career. There's no better way to go out.
Are you serious? You would not?
I don't think I'd ever do an hour drama again, after giving my all to this for as long as it would run. And I'm not sure you'd find much better ones, I say, honestly. Yeah. But also, the schedule does not afford you a life. You have no life. So you're living for your art, which is great, but...
Just like these characters are sort of...
Exactly.
For what they do in public service. CJ doesn't have much of a... I mean, we've never seen much of a life outside of what she does in the White House. It's
Most of the people I know in the White House or have known in the White House.
Yeah, it's a huge sacrifice.
They talk about once you walk in there, A, it's a fishbowl, and B, it's not 9 to 5.
No, and your life, as you've known it, is over.
It is now.
I always loved
it's
that
9 to
scene.
5.
One of the best scenes I thought.
Oh, that's right.
The Bush White House is 9 to 6.
Well, I don't.
But one of the best
kind
scenes
of gentle one
in the whole show was John talking to his wife. His wife is leaving him. She's at the door with a suitcase. He comes home from a long day at the White House, and I can only paraphrase it, but she says to him, I can't take this anymore. And he says, but I work for the president. This is my life. Yeah, but it can't be your life. He says, yes, it is.
He says it can't be more important than your marriage. And the man put words in my mouth that said, it is.
It is, yeah.
And I thought, for me to say that, it really has to be.
But is that good?
I think it's necessary. I think it's necessary maybe in the White House. I know it's necessary to do the quality that we do. And it's not just us, it's Tommy Schlamme, it's the way it's directed.
Is Tommy the director?
Yes, and a true hero, a magnificent artist.
He directed this episode that you saw. And he did the pilot also.
There's an interesting, and I certainly am so aware of the downside of the hours, but there is an interesting acting virtue in it's as if you're in a cult.
Yes, you said that before.
It's like an acting cult. Yeah. It's like, what's the next thing? I'm here to serve the big story.
True, yes.
But you get to an interesting place as an actor. I realized doing this show, because very quickly you're not nervous anymore. You're not scared. You're past the preliminary jitters that have occupied such a large percentage of my acting life.
Right.
And you know these people, and you're exhausted, and you're not at your best, and you're not going to be at your best, and you're going to be on national TV. And there's something sort of horribly liberating about that.
Yeah. Do you therefore come to work each Monday morning with an element of excitement to see another week, another story?
No, because I'm in the cult. It's just I'm going back.
You know, John, the only time we ever really see each other is at the reading, the table reading, where Aaron and Tommy and John, and all the players and all the backup players, all the crew.
And when does that take place?
About every 2 weeks.
If we're lucky. A few minutes after I'm done with the script.
Sometimes they're warm. Sometimes they feel warm.
And a few minutes before we start shooting.
Not always.
But that's the only time we
You mean this man pushes it right to the limit, right to the end, right to the moment?
You know, there's some people that are just deadline writers.
Yeah, you've said that before.
And you have to let people create the way they do.
Now, why are you that way?
You got
Why are you that way?
What is your problem? You don't know. You know.
I'm very special.
Yeah. Well, that's what we call them, special edition. Edition, yeah. Coming up. All right, tell me, just give me something about the final episode.
Okay. Excuse me.
Takes your breath away, doesn't it?
Last Wednesday, the President's Secretary, Mrs. Lanningham, was killed in a car accident by a drunk driver. Sort of the middle section of this episode takes place at her funeral at National Cathedral. But there are things swirling on around it. There's violence in Haiti. Our embassy has been surrounded. Brad's character, Josh, is desperately trying to find funding for the Justice Department's lawsuit against the tobacco people. But most important, tonight is the night in this episode when they're going to go on television live. The President is going to reveal his MS and the deception of the MS to the public, then go to a massive press conference where he is obviously going to be asked the question, are you going to run for re-election again? And the episode really just drives toward that press conference.
Deciding
if he's going to, the President needs to decide whether or not he's going to run for re-election. Many Democrats have been spending a lot of time trying to dissuade him from running again, that he'll lose for the executive.
Right. Roll tape. Here is a conversation about how to handle this presidential interview. Roll tape.
I think we have to explore ways of calling this off.
Sam.
I think it might be a mistake to send him on at a moment when we're trying to demonstrate.
Listen, we don't know what the hell they're talking about in there, Toby. We don't know whether he's running or not. I think we have to.
There are no ways. The story's leaked. It's out there. We're doing this. Don't worry. It's going to be fine.
First time you guys have seen this.
Yeah. Well, not me.
I'm not here, but I mean, let me explain. Brad is no longer here. He left while we were showing that. The reason he left is he had promised an engagement, which was on real time, and as we taped this, we used this occasion to give him an opportunity to leave. So hope he'll come back. He'll be on another show as well, and I'm pleased that he could be here with us during this time, and we understood this going in. Truth is, he didn't like the show, and he said, "I'm out of here. I've been waiting for a break," and goodbye.
When you break again, she'll be gone.
Do you mind if I also say that there are actually 3 other cast members who aren't here? Rob Lowe, we just saw in that scene. Janelle Maloney, who plays Donna, and Dule Hill.
Why aren't they here? We could have used them too.
They couldn't be here.
They couldn't be here.
Janelle was working.
Yes.
Right.
Rob's doing a film.
Rob's working.
Yeah. Rob's working. Right. Anyway, where do you think this criticism comes from that somehow, you know, it is the thing that was in the Weekly Standard, this notion that this show is a Democratic show and this show is a kind of homage to the President Clinton?
It was never meant to be the Clinton White House. The characters on the show were never meant to be the sort of famous people from the Clinton White House, Stephanopoulos and Paul Begala. Right. The only thing that CJ and Dee Dee Meyer share in common is that they're both women, so it's sort of insidious to say that CJ must be Dee Dee Meyer's. I don't, other than Dee Dee, who I know a little bit from the show, I don't know those other people, and I couldn't write about them if I tried. I was writing about a fictional White House and still am. I don't think that television shows, or for that matter, songs or paintings or plays or movies, can be liberal or conservative. I think they can only be good or bad. I think that it's odd that Tom DeLay sometime last year attacked the show for being kind of anti-religious. I think that it's odd that conservatives, and they do it far less now, but kind of were troubled about the show. Here's a show with no gratuitous violence, no gratuitous sex. It celebrates our institutions. It's a Valentine to public service. The character of the President of the United States is a devout Catholic. He has kneeled down and prayed in the Oval Office. Seems to me that they have come to California any number of times and begged us to put this show on the air. it seems to me what troubles them is that the show is populated with characters who from time to time disagree with them politically.
But then, so what does this show reflect about some central belief of yours about anything? I mean, other than you better entertain them if you want to stay with the opportunity to come back next week.
Yeah, well, you have to do that. You have to adhere to the laws of storytelling. For me, the easiest way for me into a scene to write the kind of, because the thing that I'm most attracted to really about all of this, I have to tell you, is dialogue. I'm not a natural storyteller. I'm not someone, who, one of those kids who'd be sitting around the campfire and I've got a million of them. Let me tell you another. I really don't have a lot of stories. What I love is the sound of dialogue, and so usually what I want to do is get two people arguing about something, anything, the time of day. And here in this setting, there are so many opportunities to do that, and that's why this is sort of good food for me.
Do you guys all see this as ensemble? That's a genuinely ensemble. Oh, and there's not ranking here, and this is just sort of, this is a group of actors who come together to create it.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Everybody but Martin. But
he doesn't get it.
Everybody but the little guy.
Now, what do you call him? The little guy, too?
Yeah, I call him Pumpkinhead. No, Martin included,
one night we were doing a show.
This is pretty good for a guy who wasn't even supposed to be in the thing in the beginning.
This is true. Yeah. But one night we were doing a thing for the TV Academy, and we were in a forum like we're doing now, and each one of us was asked, who do you most, be even indirect, be personal, who do you really like to play with in the other characters? And without exception, every one of us went to the big lady. Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you think that? Why is that?
Because she never, ever, ever gets caught at it. Do you know the phrase? Jimmy Cagney once gave advice.
It's a wonderful
but James Cagney was in the latter part of his life, and he'd never written anything about acting. He'd never given actors any advice before. And a great friend of his was walking in the garden one night and said, "Jimmy, you're getting there. You've never said anything about acting, and particularly for young people. What have you got to say?" And he said, "Don't get caught at it."
Don't let it show.
Right. And that's what this lady does.
Incapable
it's incapable. And she will say something totally unrelated, and we're caught. We're caught. We're sucked in. We don't have a clue that she's not doing the show, or that we just don't. Whatever comes out of this woman is so honest and so beautiful and honest that we're just swept away. So there. Let it be a lesson to you.
Have you heard all this before? Or
what's her name? It's very sweet.
Never mind, you know who I'm talking about.
It's all very impressive, but what's her name?
You know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't want to embarrass her in front of her.
How many years do you want to do this?
I would do it.
As long as it's interesting.
As long as people want. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
I love it. I love having a job. I love having a job. For an actor to have a regular, steady job is the most glorious thing. I really am enjoying this.
And then have one that creates a character that
I get to play. It was so wonderful, and get to do, Aaron's scripts are of quality that I rarely see in any movies I get offered, and it's a thrill, and I would do it as long as Aaron does.
Has it heightened your interest in politics to be involved in these kind of characters, even though we've made clear that it's about family and it's about themes that could be played against the backdrop of the mafia or a White House?
Yes, it does for me. I mean, I was not a politically inclined person.
And now you know people, and
now I know Ari Fleischer. I know, I've been underneath the press room to the pool that exists under there.
You signed the wall.
I signed the wall under the.
I find it very impressive to talk to people like Gene Sperling and John Podesta,
the economic advisor, chief of staff,
brilliant minds, and
love the show. I think these guys all watch it, don't they?
They love the show, but the way they think is very impressive. What is it called? Linear thinking, or what's that phrase where the thinking isn't limited to just their specialty, and it's pervasive to society and how it interrelates with the world and with social issues. And I'm always very moved when I even get a chance to talk to these people.
Great opportunity.
Yes.
Wonderful. I mean, it's the best writing that I've ever had in my life, and that, you know, that's the raw material for acting. You start with the words, and so as long as Aaron has something to say about Leo, I'll say it. That's the thing that makes it worthwhile, the amount of work we put in. Cause
Did you have? You chose each of these actors?
Oh yeah,
At what point did they come in mind as the?
You know, it depended. First of all, the competition was fierce for these roles. Truly, the very best actors in town were competing for these roles, and
because there was a buzz about the fact that this was going to be.
I suppose so.
There was a buzz.
Great
You want to be here,
And it from actor to actor, it varies. Brad Whitford, for instance, I've known for a long time since he was a replacement in New York in A Few Good Men. In the case of John, I had said to the casting directors, you know, what we need is we need someone like John Spencer. And they said, well, what about John Spencer? So we're never going to get John Spencer.
Somebody like him, but not quite him.
You know, Richard had to be 93 other actors out for the part, and thank God he did. You know, with Allison, you know, if there's an opportunity to have Allison Janney in your thing, you do it. Casting the role of Bartlett was sort of an interesting journey, but
why is that?
For a couple of reasons, you know, Martin never had to read for the role because, you know, obviously I have to sort of throw Badlands up on the Screener Apocalypse now, and you know what Martin can do.
He can do it, yeah.
But and there were a number of actors that we were talking about, a number of actors who had come in and read, and then sort of a call from Martin came out of the blue, and really my only concern, and I was thrilled, obviously.
A call from Martin?
I can't remember how. Did John Wells call you?
Yeah, he called me collect. Okay. I was doing a film over in Charleston.
Yeah.
My only
Charleston,
concern,
South Carolina. Yeah. And he called, said, call Aaron?
Well, I got on as I recall, I was doing a little film over there just about to end and go to Ireland for a little vacation. And they said, well, if you could fit in this, just 2 days, that's all they needed me for when I got back. And they'd send the script. And I said, yeah, please send it. But this guy was involved. I said, I'm really inclined, because we'd done The American President together. Yeah. And I didn't realize that I had worked with John Wells before. I didn't know it was the same John Wells. You wonder why I don't remember anybody. But I got on a phone call. When I read it, I got on a double hookup. What do you call that? Mrs. Lanningham keeps trying to teach me how to work one of those. I still have a conference call, which we have never done in the script. Because I can't figure it out. Yeah. And we talked, and I said, I'm in.
You're in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And did you know by then there was going to be a bigger role than you imagined?
No. He was in the pilot, and you know, and all we were thinking about was the pilot at that point. We just wanted the pilot picked up and the show put on the schedule. And in the pilot, he's just in the last few minutes of it. Originally, I can't quite remember the details, but I think his deal was for 4 out of 13 episodes. This was just going to be a from time to time recurring character. But you know, we just all had such a good time on the pilot that when the show was picked up,
it was once a month.
Said you want to right,
and they said the only thing you can't play is another president.
Right.
You can go out on the market, do whatever you want, but you cannot play president.
Right.
Yeah. I was asked, I don't know if you ever heard this, but one time we were doing some interviews for overseas, because the show was playing in England and Ireland, two countries I know about, but so we had some reporters come from those countries, and one of them asked me, would you have played it if he were a Republican? And until that instant, I had never thought about it. But I don't think they would have called me if he was a Republican.
Yeah.
You know.
But what's interesting about you?
I'd like to think I could have done it, but you know, I don't know.
You and I have been outside greats in Washington trying to stay
That's
warm.
what we met, remember?
Yeah, exactly. When you were there protesting on behalf of the homeless.
Yeah.
You've had a long-standing interest in politics. I mean, this politics
I wouldn't say
or
so much
issues. You think issues? As soon as I said it, I knew you
politics,
correctly.
Social justice issues is always. You know, I grew up in an immigrant family with 10 children, 9 boys, 1 girl. I started caddying when I was 9 years old. I became a professional caddy. I did it for 9 years, you know. And if this falls in the toilet, I can go right back and feel that on. So I came up in a working class family, and Irish. My mother was Irish, my dad was Spanish, and we all had to work. And my mother died when I was a kid. Boy, this gets sadder and sadder. Look at him over there. And so you know, I just had that thing about you know, I was on that.
What's right and wrong for you?
You knew where I would land no matter what, you know. And so when this guy came along, I just grabbed him, man. I said,
because he had a heart that you could identify with.
That's the thing I love about him the most. He's got a heart, and it cost him so much. You know, he takes it real personal. That's what it cost him. I think without spilling tomorrow night's episode, if it is tomorrow night, about Mrs. Landingham, it wasn't mentioned that you're going to see some flashbacks about how they came together, how she became. Is that okay? Is that cool?
It is now.
No, she became the central figure of his life at a critical point with he and his father, and it's really extraordinary stuff.
If that doesn't make you want to tune in tomorrow night.
Yeah. And can I tell him who's playing my father?
Yes, please.
Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh, I knew that. He was a friend of mine, and he was a former finance committee chairman.
Yeah, you were up for the part, incidentally, but
I was.
You weren't available.
It's actually, it's a more picturesque episode than we've done in a while. We were able to shoot. You saw in National Cathedral, a lot of exteriors in Washington, a lot of exteriors at the campus of St. Andrews in Delaware, the prep school in Delaware. And I really do want to mention that Tommy Schlamme, who was my partner, the other executive producer, who's directed a number of episodes, most people's favorites, and who has designed the entire look for it, directed this episode, and really a very visually arresting style. You really don't see television that looks like this a lot.
Yeah. And well said. The interesting thing here, you have won all these awards. You've got the ratings. I mean, you wonder what you shoot for now. I mean, what keeps you driving?
The next truthful moment.
The next truthful moment. What does that mean, truthful moment?
Just one step at a time. I mean, you write the next idea that comes into Aaron's head, and we try to execute it as to the best of our abilities, with as much integrity as we can muster, given our time restraints. And it's literally singles. You just keep hitting singles, and to use my third baseball analogy, and you just keep it going. You can't have grand. The awards to me certainly are secondary, and they're meaningless because they're meaningless to the extent that unless you feel good when you go home at night about doing everything you can to capture the moment in its most truthful and its most enlivened state, then the rest is somebody else's opinion, and we have to satisfy our own needs first, if you will, you know.
Speaking of honest moments, there's no one who follows this show, who cares about this show, doesn't also know that there came a terrible moment for you at the airport. You know, you and I want to talk about this at another time on another program because it has to do with lots of other issues, the kind of issues that might be treated on this program. But everybody would expect me to ask you about that.
I did a stupid thing. I'm embarrassed. Obviously, I'm going to do whatever the law tells me to do.
That's about as much as you can say, other than those people who are distressed by that at the same time.
Those people who are distressed by that, first of all, I appreciate the distress. One needn't worry at all about the show, for sure. And one needn't worry about me either.
All right. Thank you very much, Aaron. Thank you, Martin. Thank you very much, all of you. It's great to have you here on this program. I'm flattered that you'd come here and share this hour with me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Tomorrow night, finale, The West Wing. Thank you for joining us tonight. See you tomorrow night.
The shows are all done with language, so it's a very ferocious pace. You know,
does that make it an actor's program then, if the show is done with language?
I think first and foremost, it's the writing, but then it's a great vehicle for actors because it's like the I mean, sometimes we get to speak pages of dialogue, which you never do in film or television. It's like stage work that way.
Here's the thing about Aaron's writing, which is it's not just incredibly beautifully metered and poetic and substantive, but it correlates with things so that you can connect it to things that are emotional. So very often, even though you have this volume of things to say, the moments reside in between the words, which is only a great writer can pull off.
Tell me what that means, the moments that reside in between the words.
The tells for Toby, for instance, I mean, this is just the way I do it, but the tells, the kind of reveals, the things that kind of...
As this year's television season comes to a close, there is a drama that continues to generate buzz among audiences and critics alike. The West Wing is the show. It concludes its sophomore season tomorrow night on NBC. Last fall, it won Emmy Awards for Best Drama, Writing, Directing, and Supporting Actor and Actress. Those 9 wins were the most Emmys won by a single series. We're pleased tonight to have the creative team of The West Wing, the creator Aaron Sorkin, and 5 members of the cast. They are Martin Sheen, who portrays the President of the United States, Jed Bartlet; John Spencer, who plays the White House Chief of Staff, Leo McGarry; Allison Janney is C.J. Craig, the press secretary; Richard Schiff portrays Communications Director Toby Ziegler; and Bradley Whitford is Josh Lyman, the Deputy Chief of Staff. I'm pleased to have all of them here on the eve of the season finale. Welcome.
Thank you.
Let me start with something Aaron and I talked about when he came here before. What is it you think that makes this series? People say it is, for example, the fact that you give a sense of certain nobility to politics. What is it you think?
Yeah, I think that there's some of that. I think that there's some wish fulfillment, but more and more, I don't think that it's a concept or an idea that that makes something successful. I really do believe it's execution. I think that this show is done well. I think that this is really the best cast of actors that's been on television in a long time. We take the work very, very seriously. We really swing for the fences every episode, and there are obviously there are a couple of hundred people involved in putting on the West Wing every week, and we really have very skilled people in all the positions.
Swinging for the fences means what in your world?
We never say. We've now done 44 episodes of it. We finished our 2nd season. We've never said it's just television. We can phone it in.
We want all those Emmys so we can take a breather.
Exactly right. In fact, just the opposite. There's really a feeling of we've won all these Emmys. Well, now we have to be as good as everybody just said we were. We have to be better. We all, we take, for us, every Wednesday night is really like its own Broadway opening. We take it very seriously.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. When you think about the amount of writing you have to do for this, I mean, you did Few Good Men and you've written other things. This is 10 times as much writing you've ever done for anything else.
Yeah, it's a pretty ferocious pace. It's 22 hours of television. It's and these are also very wordy scripts. There's a lot of language. We're not blowing up buildings. And the words, by the way, aren't always in English. They're sometimes in Latin, and sometimes in French.
Please don't bring up the French.
Not enough French?
Well, usually I send French to Richard. But there are
reveal moments he might not want to reveal happen in between the language. The language is kind of a cover in a lot of ways.
I'm sorry. This is absolutely none of my business. Your brother is entitled to a proper funeral with mourners, and I think he deserves an honor guard. And you don't know me, but I'm an influential person. I'm a very powerful person, and I would like to arrange it.
It's an interesting challenge too, because there is such a technical demand. There is a rhythm you feel, kind of pushing you, and a director pushing you to maintain that rhythm. And it's with such a technical thing to execute, you have to make sure that your blood is flowing underneath it as an actor, that you're not focused on execution, but that you're focused on the moment. So I find it a very challenging and interesting